The Thing Remastered basically got stealth dropped on December 5th of this year, nestled right between Marvel Rivals and that new Indiana Jones game. Obviously, out of those three, I picked this one up. I did review the original on this very channel a few years back after all, which I'll link that video in the description since it's relevant. Cannot lie, I was rather excited for the remaster of this game. As much shit as that original one cops, I have a bit of a soft spot for it. It's a genuinely fun game, in my opinion. Not a good sequel for the greatest horror movie of all time, of course, admittedly, but a fun game in its own right. So, after playing through this remaster, what are my thoughts on it? Is the game worth the price tag? Is it a great improvement over the original? Absolutely. The Thing Remastered is 100% an improvement over the original in every way, quite frankly. This video is most likely going to come off as a ramble of sorts, but I will try to go over everything with this one, from the changes to just my personal experience playing through the game. It actually did feel quite different after all. I will start off first by showing you my absolute favorite change to this game.
I'm locked, loaded, and ready to make shit dead. I'm locked, loaded, and ready to make shit dead.
Yes, they fucking fixed North racking his MP5 and had him instead rack the bolt to get full auto. Absolutely based. They certainly saw my review criticizing this and changed it. At a base though, the game has been completely overhauled and everything looks so very crisp now. All the character models in particular look so much better than they used to. Look at this high definition John Carpenter, for instance. Even the enemy models look absolutely fantastic now, being all super high def, fleshy, and gross. They also have that weird sheen that the original game was lacking for sure. All the environments look amazing now too. What really elevates this game and how it looks is how they've redone the lighting in this one. Things are quite a bit darker now, everything being bathed in a far more moodier, deep blue tone of light. It greatly enhances the atmosphere of this one, and it helps the game fall in line with how the original movie was lit too. Weapon-wise, I love the fact that now you can see your empty rounds and shells expelling from your guns when you're firing them. I also want to compliment the new flame effect for the flamethrower. It looks fantastic, and I loved hosing things down with it just because of how good it looked now, on top of, you know, how dynamic the lighting is with it now too. Gameplay-wise, they've definitely sped things up a bit, or at least it felt that way to me. You move a lot faster, so much so that they added a walk button so you can use it to slow down just a bit, which is a good feature to have added because the game still does have a handful of those tightrope walking segments. In terms of combat, it still feels the same mostly, but I feel like my comrades are a lot more fragile than they used to be in the original. Due to me having a good soldier never leaves a man behind mentality, I ended up reloading a lot trying to make sure all my comrades got to the natural end of their lives in this game, and let me tell you, my boys ended up getting picked quite a lot. This is not a bad thing, I want to stress, but it is something I did notice. Your auto aim, while it is still good, isn't the auto carry it used to be like in the original. It'll still help you out a lot, of course, but as I played, I found out I really needed to be careful, slow down a bit, and take my shots instead of just, you know, going gung-ho and blasting my guns everywhere. Guns are also way more responsive now, too. It's really nice. In the original game, I felt like there was a bit of a cap on how fast you could fire your non-automatic weapons. That cap is fucking gone in this remake, meaning you fire as fast as you can pull that trigger. This actually makes the pistol way more deadly, since it by default has the best accuracy, and now you can crank out your whole mag in roughly 3 seconds. The submachine gun kinda sucks now in comparison though. I just gave that to my comrades more often than not. That gun was definitely carried by the auto aim. I don't know if this was a mechanic in the original game, but crouching will actually vastly boost your accuracy now, which is really useful, and I actually used it a ton over the course of my playthrough. It helped a lot. I also want to note that the auto turrets that you run into in this game no longer have that 100% accuracy like they did in the original, and it can actually miss you now instead of instantly dismantling you the second you step into range. I was honestly terrified of these things in the OG, but now I can just kind of kamikaze them pretty easily. What you're most likely wondering about this though, since Night Dive actually explicitly mentioned removing this and reworking it in its entirety, is your squad mates being scripted to burst out as things gone? For the most part, yeah, it's gone. If you played that original Thing game, you got familiar with the fact that every person in your squad basically turns on you at a specific point. Either that or they just end up disappearing entirely. While there's still a few humans that automatically burst out almost instantly, a great majority of your squad mates will maintain their humanity until they simply can't follow you in the game anymore. What's taken over instead, to help ramp up that paranoia, is now, on taking damage, there's a chance your squad mate will burst out on you. This is a feature that was in the original game too, for reference, but it was not particularly prominent prominent. I know it's something that could have happened back in the original, but in my many times playing that game, it didn't happen once. Letting that system take precedence over the originals is absolutely amazing, honestly. Instead of just knowing they're gonna burst, it being able to happen at any time instead, especially during a rough scrape, for instance, is scary as hell. To give a personal example of this, I had a full 4-man squad ready up here in this observation room, and this fuse box needed to be fixed. Since it was a simple one, I began fixing it myself when suddenly things began storming the area. A fight broke out, which got way worse since one of my medics took enough damage to turn on me. Said infected medic then killed my engineer almost instantly before I was able to get things under control. All hell broke loose so fucking quickly. It was awesome. Knowing that these infections could happen at any time really helped keep me on my toes and actually brought a deep feeling of paranoia that the original game just didn't have. This is honestly the best change to the game overall. Great job, Night Dive, really. Keeping on with squad mates for a moment, I felt like my fellow fighters quipped a lot more in this one, and there was a ton of different dialogue that I'd never heard before coming out of the game. Not sure if those lines were like dummied out, or maybe I just didn't run across them, or if Night Dive just made them occur more often, but I enjoyed the fairly constant observations of my fellows, since it did help fill the silence a good bit. To note some other changes, a good quality of life change is now every boss has a seeable life bar, so you can actually, suss out when they're low enough to finally flamethrower to death. My only real negative experience with this game would be that I did run into a few bugs here and there. Nothing that bad, really, except for the time my medic got stuck in the floor. That was pretty bad, but a quick reload fixed it just fine. So I can honestly say this game is really technically competent as well. It's crazy playing a new game that isn't a total bug-riddled piece of shit that barely functions. Gotta say, guys, this is one absolutely fantastic remaster. A far better one than I was expecting, in truth. But this is another banger from Night Dive Studios. I really shouldn't have expected anything else from them. As a final little bonus note, when it comes to the area seen in that 2011 prequel, Night Dive actually did a good bit of updating the Norwegian outposts, including the axe being stuck in the wall here, where it would have been left in the movie, and the in-game column looking a fair bit more like the movie column too. So Night Dive really went above and beyond here. It might honestly be the gold standard for remasters now. It takes that base Thing game and just improves on it in every imaginable way. Graphics, gameplay, game mechanics, and just general quality of life improvements all serve to make the game so much better. I didn't find any of the changes to the game to be objectionable either, unlike, Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Truthfully, while the game isn't some 10 out of 10, obviously, I still have my gripes with the story. It's just so much better now. The Thing Remastered currently goes for $30, and I honestly do think it's worth it at that full price, especially if you've never played the original. So if you're a fan of that original game, we're looking to pick this one up, but you weren't sure if it would be worth it or not, or just looking for some new content related to the Thing, I say go grab it. Full price or just wait for a sale. It's definitely worth it either way. But I'm gonna end this one here now. This is kind of a short video, but I wanted to be a bit more concise, even if it was a bit rambly. As always, dearest of viewers, my name is HadesManticore, and this here channel is CityStateManticore. Thanks a ton for watching if you did. Be sure to drop a fat like, of course, alongside a comment about your opinion on this remaster. Subscribe too, because as always, more content to come. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Goodbye.